Gentlemen, let me hit you with a hard truth. After 60, most men feel their manhood slipping away. Erections grow weaker, nights become restless, and mornings feel heavier than ever. Many of my patients quietly confess that they feel half the man they used to be. But here's the shock. What if I told you that the solution is not another pill or procedure, but a simple fruit you can eat at night that can make your penis hard again, restore your vigor, and bring back the deep sleep you thought was lost forever? My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I've spent more than 30 years as a physician and professor of men's health, treating thousands of men who face exactly what you are facing now. I don't deal in gimmicks or false promises. I deal in science, in proven strategies, and in the natural solutions that work when nothing else seems to. Most men believe decline is unavoidable, that aging means weakness, sleepless nights, and fading potency. But the paradox is this: much of what you are missing, your strength, your erections, your restful nights, can be restored not with drugs, but with a fruit you've overlooked your entire life. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal the #1 fruit that directly targets erections, energy, and sleep. I'll show you how it restores your body naturally and safely without side effects, and why men who use it consistently feel decades younger. Stay with me, because in a moment, I'll share exactly what this fruit is, how to use it the right way at night, and the transformation you can expect. This could be the turning point for your health, your confidence, and your manhood. Before we begin, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another doctor's tip designed for men over 60. And I'd love to hear from you. If you believe men deserve simple, natural solutions like this, type 1 in the comments. If you think I need to improve this kind of content, type 0 and let me know how I can serve you better. Now let's dive into the truth. To understand why this one fruit can change so much, we first need to look at why nights feel heavier after 60, why energy fades, sleep weakens, and potency declines when the sun goes down. That's where it all begins. 1. Why men feel older at night. When men tell me they feel the weight of age, they rarely talk about mornings or afternoons. It's almost always the night. They sit in my office and describe the same story in different words. Doctor, when the sun goes down, I feel older than I am. The body grows heavy, the mind restless, and energy drains away. Nights are supposed to be for rest, recovery, and intimacy, but for many men over 60, they've become the hardest part of the day. There is science behind this, but there's also a very human reality. Testosterone, the hormone that gives you strength, stamina, and drive, is already lower in the evening. Melatonin, the hormone that helps you sleep, doesn't flow like it used to. And nitric oxide, the molecule that allows blood to rush into your arteries and your penis, is at its lowest levels after years of gradual decline. Put simply, the night exposes every weak spot that aging creates. That's why the evenings feel heavier, why sleep is shallow, why intimacy feels like a memory instead of a living part of your life. I remember one man, 72 years old, who told me he dreaded the night. Not because of nightmares, but because he feared lying next to his wife, knowing he could no longer respond to her touch. He loved her deeply, but he felt ashamed of what age had taken from him. That shame grew heavier in the silence of the night, when he couldn't distract himself with work or activity. His story is not unique. It is the quiet suffering of millions of men who believe this decline is simply old age. But here's the truth. What you feel at night is not just age. It is the consequence of missing nutrients, disrupted rhythms, and neglected solutions. The very hours that seem to drain you could actually become the time when your body repairs itself most powerfully, if only you gave it what it needs. And that is where the paradox begins. Because the missing piece is not another pill, not another prescription, not another restless night of hoping tomorrow feels better. The missing piece is something far simpler, something you can hold in your hand, something you can eat with pleasure. It is a fruit, yes, a fruit that, when eaten at night, can restore potency, vigor, and deep sleep in ways most men would never believe. So the question becomes, what exactly is this fruit, and why has it been overlooked for so long? 2. The missing piece, the night fruit for potency. For decades, men have been told that their struggles with energy, sleep, and potency can only be solved with medication. Walk into any pharmacy, and you'll see shelves lined with pills that promise to give you back what age has taken. Some of them work for a moment, but they never address the real problem, and the side effects often create more issues than they solve. I've had countless patients come to me after trying everything: sleeping pills that left them groggy, testosterone shots that spiked their mood but faded quickly, and little blue tablets that made their hearts race but left them anxious and dependent. These men weren't looking for a quick fix. They were looking for something lasting, something natural, something that made them feel like themselves again. That's when I began to notice a pattern. The men who thrived the most weren't the ones who reached for stronger prescriptions. They were the ones who embraced what nature has quietly offered us all along. There is a fruit, often overlooked in the supermarket aisle, that contains the very building blocks men over 60 are starving for. What struck me most is how simple it is. No complicated routines, no foreign ingredients you've never heard of, just a fruit, eaten at the right time, that works in harmony with your body's natural rhythms. I remember one patient in particular, a retired veteran who had spent years battling with his health. He had grown tired of medications and their side effects, and he asked me, almost in desperation, "Doctor, isn't there something natural I can do?" That was when I introduced him to this night fruit. He was skeptical at first. How could something so ordinary make a difference? But weeks later, he came back to my office with a smile I hadn't seen before. He told me his energy had returned, his sleep was deeper, and his wife had noticed a change in their intimacy. His story reminded me that sometimes the answers we are searching for are not hidden in a laboratory, but in the quiet gifts of nature. And here's where the paradox lies. Men are searching high and low for complicated solutions, when the real missing piece is something most of us ignore. This fruit is not just food, it is medicine disguised as a natural pleasure, and when taken at night, it speaks directly to the needs of a man's aging body. The question you may be asking yourself now is, why does this fruit work so powerfully, and why does it become even more important after 60? The answer lies in understanding what disappears from your body with age, and why replacing it is the key to feeling strong again. 3. Why vital nutrients disappear after 60. One of the most common questions men ask me is, "Doctor, why does everything seem to change after 60? The truth is, your body is no longer producing or holding on to the nutrients it once did so easily. Testosterone, the hormone that gave you strength and drive, is not flowing the way it used to. Melatonin, the hormone that signals your body to rest, has dwindled to a fraction of what it was in your younger years. And nitric oxide, the molecule that opens your blood vessels and allows blood to surge into your muscles and yes, into your penis, is being produced in far smaller amounts. This decline doesn't happen overnight. It creeps in slowly, year after year, until one day you wake up and realize you can't sleep the way you used to. Your energy isn't the same, and your body doesn't respond when you need it to. I've seen this play out with hundreds of men in my practice. One man in his mid-60s told me he felt like he was carrying sandbags on his shoulders every morning. His sleep was shallow, he tossed and turned, and when he tried to be intimate with his wife, his body simply would not cooperate. He thought something was broken, but nothing was broken. It was simply that the nutrients and signals his body needed were no longer there in the amounts required. Imagine trying to light a fire with damp wood and no kindling. That's what your body is going through without these vital compounds. What makes this decline even more dangerous is that it often goes unnoticed. You may chalk it up to just getting older, but in reality, these missing nutrients are silently robbing you of vitality. They are the reason your erections are weaker, why your nights are restless, and why you wake up feeling drained instead of restored. The frustration you feel is not in your head, it's in your blood chemistry, your hormones, and the delicate balance that once kept you strong. But here's the hopeful part. Nature has already given us tools to replenish what's lost. Certain foods, and in particular one powerful fruit, contain exactly the compounds your body is desperate for after 60. When you feed your body what it needs at the right time, you give it the chance to rebuild what age has taken away. And that's where the real story begins. Because if you're wondering how to know whether you are already deficient, the signs may be more obvious than you think. The silent symptoms are already speaking. You just need to learn how to listen. 4. The silent symptoms of deficiency. Most men don't notice the decline right away. It doesn't hit you like a hammer. It sneaks in quietly, like a shadow that grows longer each year. At first, it might just be a restless night or two, a little less energy in the morning, a softer erection than you remember. You brush it off, thinking it's just a bad week, maybe too much stress, maybe not enough exercise. But slowly, the pattern becomes harder to ignore. You're wide awake at 2 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, your mind racing while your body refuses to rest. You wake up feeling like you never slept at all. You go through the day dragging your feet, your spark dimmed, your enthusiasm dulled. And in the moments that matter most, in the intimacy of your bedroom, you feel a loss that words cannot describe. I remember one patient who looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doctor, I feel like I'm fading. I'm here, but I'm not the man I used to be." That confession is something I've heard more times than I can count, and it always strikes me deeply. It's not just about physical decline. It's about the frustration of wanting to show up for your partner, your family, and yourself, but not having the strength, the energy, or the performance to match your intentions. These are the silent symptoms of deficiency. They don't come with alarms or warnings. They arrive slowly, stealing away pieces of your vitality until one day you wonder how you got here. And yet, these symptoms are not a life sentence. They are signals, your body's way of crying out for what it is missing. When your sleep is restless, it is calling for melatonin. When your erections are weak, it is begging for nitric oxide. When your energy feels drained, it is pleading for the nourishment that fuels testosterone. If you've been feeling these silent symptoms, know that you are not alone, and more importantly, that there is hope. Because here's the powerful truth. The same way your body is signaling what's missing, there is a way to give it back exactly what it needs. And the answer is not complicated, not hidden in a prescription bottle, but found in one simple fruit that men have overlooked for years. The question you may be asking now is, what exactly is this fruit, and how can it possibly address all of these problems at once? The answer might surprise you. 5. The right fruit, the right way. Now it's time to reveal the fruit I've been hinting at. It isn't exotic. It isn't rare. It doesn't come with a fancy label or a price tag that makes you think it's some miracle superfood. It's a fruit you've probably seen your whole life, maybe even eaten from time to time without realizing the treasure hiding inside. I'm talking about tart cherries, not the sweet cherries you may snack on in the summer, but the smaller, tangier ones that pack an incredible punch when it comes to restoring a man's health after 60. Why tart cherries? Because they are one of nature's richest sources of anthocyanins, the compounds that keep your blood vessels young and flexible. And for a man, blood flow is everything. Without strong circulation, erections weaken, energy wanes, and your heart and brain pay the price. Tart cherries also contain something rare in foods, natural melatonin. This is the very hormone your body struggles to produce as you age, the key to falling asleep easily and sinking into that deep, healing rest that restores your strength. And here's the part most men don't know. These cherries also protect testosterone by fighting inflammation and oxidative stress, the very forces that quietly destroy your masculinity as the years pass. I'll never forget one man in his late 60s who laughed when I first told him about tart cherries. He said, "Doctor, you mean the little red fruits I used to spit out the pits of when I was a kid?" He didn't believe me, but a month later, he came back with a different story. His nights were calmer, he was sleeping longer, and he even told me, with a smile, that his wife had noticed changes too. What changed wasn't just his sleep or his energy, but his confidence. He realized his body could still respond, that he wasn't too old, that he hadn't lost everything after all. That spark returned. And it all began with something as simple as a fruit. This is why I call tart cherries the right fruit, taken the right way, at the right time. They target the exact issues men face after 60, erections, energy, and sleep, all in one natural package. But as powerful as they are, the timing of how you take them matters just as much as the fruit itself. And that's what we need to talk about next, because if you don't use them correctly at night, you'll miss out on their true potential. 6. How to take it correctly at night. Now that you know tart cherries are the fruit we've been building toward, the question becomes, how do you actually use them so they deliver on their promise? Because I've seen men get excited, rush to the store, buy the wrong kind of product, and then come back to me saying, "Doctor, it didn't work." The truth is, how you take this fruit matters just as much as the fruit itself. If you want the potency, the vigor, and the deep sleep, you have to respect the timing and the form. The best way is the simplest way. A small bowl of tart cherries in the evening, ideally 1 hour before bed. Fresh cherries are excellent when they're in season. Frozen tart cherries work just as well because the nutrients remain intact. And if you can't find them in those forms, a glass of unsweetened tart cherry juice is a wonderful alternative. But here's the trap that too many men fall into. They buy juices loaded with sugar, thinking they'll get the same benefit. Sugar is the enemy here. It spikes your blood sugar, disrupts your sleep, and cancels out many of the gains tart cherries are supposed to deliver. If you do use juice, make sure it's pure, unsweetened, and preferably organic. And consistency is the key. One serving isn't going to transform your health overnight. Think of it like watering a plant. You don't expect one drink of water to bring a withered tree back to life. But give it what it needs every day, and slowly the green returns, the strength rebuilds, the roots deepen. The same is true for your body. Night after night, those anthocyanins will relax your blood vessels, the melatonin will guide you into deeper sleep, and the protection against inflammation will allow your testosterone to breathe again. I once had a patient who started this ritual skeptically. He said to me, "I'll try it for a week, but I don't believe a fruit can change my life." By the end of the first week, he admitted he was sleeping better. By the end of the second, he noticed his mornings were brighter. By the fourth, his confidence as a man was growing again. He told me it felt like his body was finally remembering how to work the way it used to. That memory was awakened simply by feeding it what it had been missing. So if you're serious about restoring your manhood and your nights, don't treat this like a passing experiment. Make it a ritual, and when you do, you'll begin to notice something remarkable. The changes follow a timeline, and they come in stages, each one stronger than the last. And that is exactly what we're going to explore next. 7. What to expect. The transformation timeline. One of the questions I hear most often from men is, "Doctor, how long will it take before I notice a difference?" It's a fair question, because when you've been struggling with poor sleep, fading erections, and low energy for years, you don't want to wait forever for change. The good news is, when you use tart cherries the right way, the transformation follows a timeline. It's not about instant miracles, but steady, visible progress that builds on itself until you realize your body is working again in ways you thought were gone for good. In the first week, most men notice sleep beginning to shift. Instead of lying awake for hours or waking up every couple of hours, you start to fall asleep more easily. Your body begins to sink into deeper stages of rest. That alone can be life-changing, because even one night of true restorative sleep feels like someone hit a reset button you've been missing for years. With more oxygen reaching your brain and muscles, mornings feel lighter, clearer, more hopeful. By the second and third weeks, changes become even more noticeable. Men tell me their mornings no longer feel like a battle. They have more energy to get up, move around, and face the day. Erections start returning, sometimes first thing in the morning, sometimes when they least expect it. It's a sign the blood vessels are opening again, that nitric oxide is flowing, that your body is remembering how to respond. That spark of confidence that comes with it is hard to put into words. It's not just physical, it's emotional. It makes you feel like yourself again. By the fourth week and beyond, the transformation deepens. Erections become firmer, sleep becomes more consistent, and your energy carries through the entire day. Some men notice their aches and pains lessen, their mood lift, and their desire for intimacy reignite. It feels as if age has loosened its grip, and you're standing taller, more alive, more in command of your body. I've seen men who thought their best years were behind them realize that life after 60 can be full of strength, passion, and renewal. But there's something I always warn my patients about. Progress only comes if you stay consistent. This fruit is powerful, but it is not magic. It cannot work if you treat it casually or give up after a few days. And even when you are consistent, there are 3 common mistakes men make that can quietly sabotage all the progress they've gained. Those mistakes are what we must cover next, because avoiding them could be the difference between lasting transformation and disappointment. 8. Avoid these 3 common mistakes. I wish I could tell you that simply eating tart cherries at night is enough to change everything, but I've seen too many men sabotage their own progress by falling into the same traps again and again. The truth is, this fruit works, but only if you respect the way your body processes it. If you make these mistakes, you'll walk away thinking it failed you, when in reality, it was never the fruit that failed, it was how you used it. The first mistake is choosing the wrong form. I've watched men walk into the grocery store and grab brightly colored bottles of cherry juice without reading the label. What they don't realize is that most of those juices are loaded with sugar. Added sugar spikes your insulin, inflames your blood vessels, and completely disrupts your sleep. You might as well be drinking soda. If the label doesn't say unsweetened tart cherry juice, then it's not the medicine your body needs. It's a poison wearing a healthy mask. The second mistake is inconsistency. Men take tart cherries for 2 nights, then forget for a week, then start again. They treat it like a casual snack instead of a ritual. Your body doesn't respond to half-hearted attempts. It responds to rhythm, to routine, to nightly nourishment that rebuilds the pathways of blood flow, testosterone, and sleep hormones. If you stop and start, you're cutting off the very process that needs time to work. And the third mistake is impatience. Too many men expect instant miracles, as if 1 glass of cherry juice will undo decades of decline. When they don't feel dramatically different by morning, they give up. But the real magic happens slowly, layer by layer, week by week. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up after 2 days to see if it's growing. You water it, you wait, and you trust the process. Tart cherries are the same. The longer you give them, the more profound the transformation. I once had a man in his early 70s tell me he almost quit after the first week because he didn't notice much change. I convinced him to keep going. By week 3, he was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. By week 4, his erections had returned. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and said, "Doctor, I almost gave up on myself." I'm glad I didn't. That's the lesson here. Avoid the sugar, stay consistent, and be patient. Do those 3 things, and you'll be amazed at how much your body can still give back to you. And while cherries alone are powerful, combining them with the right nutrients can create an even greater effect, one that supercharges your results and takes your transformation to the next level. That's exactly what we need to talk about now. 9. The secret boost: fruit plus other nutrients. By now you understand that tart cherries alone are powerful, but what if I told you there was a way to make their effects even stronger? Over the years, I've discovered that the men who see the most dramatic transformations are not only the ones who eat the fruit nightly, but the ones who combine it with other key nutrients that aging bodies are desperate for. It's almost like lighting a fire with a match. You can get a small flame, yes, but if you add kindling and oxygen, that flame grows into a roaring fire. Tart cherries are the match, and these other nutrients are the fuel that keeps the fire alive. The first is zinc, a mineral most men overlook. Zinc is essential for testosterone production, and without it, your levels plummet. I've seen men who were low in zinc feel drained, powerless, and detached. When they restored it through diet or supplementation, suddenly their testosterone began to breathe again, and their sense of vitality returned. Pairing zinc with tart cherries protects your hormones, while the cherries do their work repairing blood flow and restoring sleep. The second is magnesium. Magnesium is nature's relaxation mineral. It calms the nervous system, helps muscles release tension, and supports deep, restorative sleep. Without it, men struggle with restless legs, racing thoughts, and shallow rest. Combine magnesium with tart cherries at night, and you create a perfect synergy. The cherries deliver melatonin while the magnesium relaxes the body, making sleep not only deeper, but also more refreshing. The third is L-arginine, an amino acid that boosts nitric oxide, the very molecule that allows your blood vessels to open wide. If cherries unlock the door, L-arginine pushes it all the way open. Erections become firmer, circulation improves, and your heart benefits too. It's a simple yet powerful addition that accelerates the results most men are chasing. And let's not forget omega-3 fatty acids, the healthy fats found in fish oil. They reduce inflammation, protect the heart, and support brain health. When inflammation is tamed, testosterone works better, blood flows more freely, and your body operates closer to the way it did in your younger years. I've watched men who combined tart cherries with these nutrients experience changes they never thought possible. One man in his late 60s told me he felt 10 years younger, not because of one supplement, but because he gave his body a team of allies working together. That's the secret boost. The fruit opens the door, and the nutrients walk through it, amplifying the benefits. But here's the most important part. All of this science, all of these strategies, mean very little unless you understand the deeper reason why it matters. Because this isn't just about nutrients or erections or sleep. It's about something far more personal, something at the core of every man's heart, and that's what we need to explore next. 10. The emotional core. Why this matters. At the end of the day, this conversation isn't just about cherries, nutrients, or even the science of blood flow and hormones. It's about something much deeper, something that strikes at the very heart of who you are as a man. I've sat across from men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who break down not because they can't sleep or because they're tired, but because they feel like they've lost themselves. They tell me, "Doctor, I don't feel like a man anymore." That loss of identity, that sense of fading away, is heavier than any sleepless night or weak erection. I remember a gentleman in his late 70s who had been married for more than 50 years. He told me he loved his wife more than ever, but he couldn't bring himself to touch her because he felt ashamed of his own body. The sadness in his eyes wasn't about age, it was about the belief that he had nothing left to give. But when he began making simple changes, starting with something as humble as tart cherries at night, something shifted. His sleep deepened, his energy returned, and slowly his confidence began to rise. He said to me, "I feel like I can look her in the eyes again, not as a patient or an old man, but as her husband." That moment reminded me why this work matters so much. This isn't just about prolonging life, it's about restoring dignity. It's about reclaiming the part of you that refuses to quit, that still longs for connection, strength, and intimacy. Your partner doesn't want a perfect man. She wants the man she remembers, the man who shows up with energy, confidence, and love. And you deserve to feel that way again, not just for her, but for yourself. Every bowl of tart cherries, every night of better sleep, every spark of vigor that returns is a reminder that age does not define you. What defines you is the choice to keep fighting, to keep nurturing your body, to keep believing that there is more life to be lived. I've seen men on the edge of giving up find themselves again with these changes, and their stories are proof that transformation is possible, no matter your age. And now that you understand the science, the nutrients, and the deeper meaning behind it all, we arrive at the final piece, the conclusion. Because while knowledge is powerful, what truly matters is what you choose to do tonight, when the day is done and you decide whether to repeat the same old routine or embrace a new one that could change everything. Conclusion. A doctor's final words. Gentlemen, we've walked together through the truth that so many men overlook. We've talked about why nights feel heavier after 60, why vital nutrients fade away, and how those silent symptoms slowly steal your strength. We uncovered the missing piece, tart cherries, the right fruit at the right time, working with your body instead of against it. We looked at how to take it correctly at night, the timeline of transformation you can expect, the mistakes to avoid, and the secret boost that comes when you pair this fruit with the nutrients your body craves. And above all, we reached the emotional heart of it all, why this truly matters for your dignity, your confidence, and your life as a man. I've seen the science, yes, but I've also seen the tears, the smiles, and the quiet relief when a man realizes he is not finished, not broken, not beyond repair. Age does not erase your vitality. It only demands that you give your body what it needs in a wiser way. Something as simple as a bowl of tart cherries at night can be the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with deeper sleep, stronger energy, and a return of the passion that makes you feel alive. So tonight, when you stand in your kitchen deciding what to put into your body, remember this choice. It may seem small, but it carries the power to restore more than your health. It can restore your hope, and that, I believe, is worth everything.